behind closed doors, the affair that destroyed everything. There are things in life we wish we could unsee, unfeel, undo. Moments that slip through our fingers like sand, never to be grasped again. But some moments change everything. They shatter lives, break hearts, and leave behind nothing but the wreckage of what used to be. This is the story of one such moment. A moment when everything I believed in, love, loyalty, and family, came crashing down behind closed doors. I have a life that many would envy, a beautiful house, a career I'm proud of, and a family that always seemed like the picture of perfection. My husband, David, is a good man. He's hardworking, kind, and for the most part loving. We've been married for over 14 years, and though our life wasn't without its ups and downs, I never imagined that something could tear it apart so completely. Then there was Ryan. He came into my life when I least expected it. A colleague, a friend, someone who seemed harmless enough at first. Little did I know that his presence would become the spark to a fire that would destroy everything I held dear. It started innocently enough. Just small moments of connection. Casual conversations during work, a shared joke here and there, a lingering glance. At first I dismissed it. After all, I was married. I loved David. But there was something about Ryan. He had a way of looking at me that made me feel seen in a way I hadn't in years. David and I had become distant. Our relationship had grown comfortable but not passionate. The spark that once existed between us had slowly faded over time, replaced by routine. We didn't argue, but we didn't connect either. There was no spark, no excitement. We lived like two strangers occupying the same space, barely touching, barely speaking. And then Ryan came along. There was something about him, something magnetic. He was young, full of life, and he made me feel things I hadn't felt in a long time. Every time he smiled at me, my heart would race, and I couldn't help but notice the way his eyes lingered on mine. I tried to brush it off, tried to tell myself it was harmless, but it wasn't. It was more than that. It was an attraction that grew stronger with every passing day. One evening after work, we found ourselves alone in the office. David was away on a business trip, and I was finishing up some paperwork. Ryan lingered, offering to help me, and before I knew it, we were sitting close together, the space between us shrinking with every word we spoke. My heart pounded in my chest as I realized that the air between us had changed. It was no longer just friendly banter, it was something deeper, something more dangerous. And then it happened. A touch. Just a brush of his hand against mine. But it was enough. The spark ignited, and before I could stop it, I found myself leaning in, our lips meeting in a kiss that felt like an explosion in the quiet of the office. I pulled away immediately, horrified by what had just happened. But Ryan didn't move. He just looked at me, his eyes full of something I hadn't seen in a long time, desire. "I've wanted this for so long," he whispered. I wanted to pull away, to run, to stop this madness, but something inside me stopped me. The emptiness I had been feeling, the loneliness I had buried deep inside me, all seemed to vanish in that moment. For the first time in ages, I felt alive. But that moment was just the beginning. That one kiss would change everything. It was the moment everything I thought I knew about love, loyalty, and family began to unravel. The days that followed were filled with confusion and guilt. I couldn't stop thinking about Ryan, about the way his lips had felt against mine, the way his touch had ignited a fire within me. I was disgusted with myself, but at the same time, I couldn't deny the pull I felt toward him. I tried to avoid him, but the more I tried to push him away, the more he seemed to appear in my life, making me question everything. I couldn't stop seeing him at work. Couldn't stop feeling the chemistry between us every time we spoke. And then one evening, he asked me to meet him again, this time at a hotel. I knew it was wrong. I knew it would change everything. But the temptation was too great. That night, I left the house before David returned, lying to him about staying late at work. My heart was pounding as I drove to the hotel, every instinct telling me to turn back, but I didn't. When I arrived, Ryan was already there, waiting for me. His smile was knowing, confident, and I couldn't help but feel drawn to him again. That night, we crossed a line. We gave in to the desire that had been building between us for weeks. It was passionate, it was reckless, and it felt like nothing I had ever experienced before. But the next morning, as I lay there beside him, reality began to set in. I had crossed a line I could never uncross. I returned home that morning, feeling like a stranger in my own life. David was home, waiting for me, his usual warm smile on his face. But I couldn't look at him the same way anymore. The guilt consumed me, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I had betrayed him in the worst way possible. As the days went by, I couldn't escape the guilt. I tried to pretend everything was fine, tried to keep up the facade of a perfect marriage, but I could see the cracks forming. David had started to notice the changes in me. The distance, the coldness. I wasn't the same woman he had married, and then one night it all came crashing down. David confronted me, his voice shaking with anger and hurt. "You've been distant," he said, his eyes filled with confusion. "Is there someone else?" I froze. The words I had been dreading to hear were out in the open. The affair was no longer a secret. It was out there and there was no turning back. I could see the pain in his eyes and it tore me apart. I wanted to confess, to tell him everything, but I couldn't. The shame, the fear of losing everything paralyzed me. David's face crumpled in front of me, his expression one of betrayal and heartbreak. "How could you do this to me?" he whispered, his voice breaking. "How could you do this to us?" In that moment, I realized the enormity of what I had done. I had destroyed everything. The man I loved, the family I had built, the trust that had taken years to establish, it was all gone. Now, as I sit here reflecting on the mess I've created, I can't help but wonder what would have happened if I had made a different choice. What if I had told David how I was feeling before it all came to this? What if I had resisted the temptation and not given in to the affair that destroyed everything? I stand here at the edge of the consequences of my actions, and I realize that no matter what I do now, nothing will ever be the same. My family is broken. My husband is shattered. And I have no one to blame but myself. Have you ever made a choice that changed everything? Have you ever felt a temptation so strong that it led you to destroy something you once cherished? Share your thoughts, your stories, or your feelings in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Join me on this journey and stay tuned for more stories that reveal the deepest corners of the human heart.